Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zara and today I am going to be doing a video on a reading guide that I've put together if you are interested in reading KJ Parker's books. I've read quite a lot of his books now and there's still many more to read because he's putting out multiple books a year. Like, it's truly incredible and the quality somehow still manages to stay incredibly high. One of the kind of most frequent questions I get from people is, where should I start? I want this sort of tone, what should I read? I just thought I'd put together a really simple reading guide for folks who are new to KJ Parker and want to kind of start out reading some of his stuff. The way that I can convince you to read his stuff is if you like compelling characters, really well written politics. If you're one of those people that's just curious about a lot of different things and you like learning about mercantile banks and how they're run and kind of shipbuilding and how that's done and how to plan a war, like war strategies, then this is the author for you. Because somebody like me, it doesn't take a lot to get me interested in something. You know, I just like learning about anything and everything. So his books are like a dream for me because each book kind of covers a very specific, discipline. So I thought I'd put together a couple of different categories. I did predominantly focus on like standalones and shorter books and shorter series just because Parker has written a lot of trilogies as well, but I thought I would start with kind of the standalones and duologies because I think if you're new to his stuff, I would definitely recommend starting there. That's how I did it, and I think it worked really well for me. And now I'm going into more of his trilogies and deeper diving into some of that stuff. With that in mind, let's jump in. So if you're looking for the best place to start, or if you're looking for something that explores kind of friendship and power and those dynamics and how power, while can have many benefits, can also have many negatives, then I strongly recommend that you read Purple and Black. Purple and Black is a really great place to start because it's very short. And I think it shows what Parker does best in, kind of 150 pages. It's written in epistolary format, which essentially means is that we have two characters writing letters to each other. These two characters are friends with each other. One is like the emperor and the other one is like a war commander. And they're talking about a multitude of different topics, from war supplies to how to run a society to the impact that has on themselves individually. Like, he covers so many different things in such a small book. It's honestly quite incredible. I just think it gives you a little bit of everything that you need to know about Parker. And if you enjoy Purple and Black, then you will without a doubt enjoy one or many of his other books because, like I said, it's just a condensed format of what he does well in his other stuff. Purple and Black is so good. I read it in like an hour and a half because I was so addicted to it. It's one of those books that you'll also just want to reread and reread because there's so many nuggets packed into it. Despite the fact that it's like 150 pages long, it's honestly quite wild. This one you can get on Kindle. You can get it from, I believe it's the Subterranean Press website. It's honestly one of the most frequently asked questions I get about Parker is, where can I get Purple and Black? It's also part of, I believe it's Academic Exercises, which is a collection of short stories. I'll put down some links below and you can take a look if you want to get it. The next category is for those who like dark fantasy, grimdark fantasy, or who like things that are quite dark in nature but also quite philosophical, and that would be The Company. The Company is essentially a story of the band getting back together and they basically want to create a utopia. It's just absolutely fascinating. It is one of the best books. It explores human nature in a way that very few books have been able to do. Oh, it's so creepy as well. Not in like the horror creepy way where it's more about the fact that these are just like normal people and they're making decisions and doing things that every normal person has the capacity to do. And those things are not good things. Sometimes they even border on slightly evil. And sometimes they're straight up evil. And what it really shows is that every human being has the capacity to do evil things. Even though we might feel like we don't, I promise you, everybody has the capacity to do it if they were put in a position. And it's just such a fascinating kind of psychological, anthropological, sociological study of humans and what happens when we put people together and they need to create kind of new rules and new systems. Because what ends up happening is we end up defaulting back to what we already know and what is maybe intrinsic to human nature. It's absolutely fascinating, really, really fascinating. Just even thinking about it is giving me like goosebumps right now because there is one character in that book in particular that is just so well written, and he's just one of the best villains that I've ever read. And a lot of these characters are morally grey, but there are a few characters that are just straight up evil people. Such a great book. Honestly, I could talk about it for hours. If you want my more detailed thoughts, I will also link down my review below because I did a full dedicated review on this one. I think I've done dedicated reviews for most of these books actually, and I'll just link them all down below in my description. The next one is if you're looking for a book that has a lot of politics in it, that has kind of mercantile banks in it, if you're somebody who likes kind of fantasy about merchants, or you like just kind of historical fantasy about merchants, and you kind of like medieval European historical fiction, then this is the one for you. And that is the one that I probably reference the most, and that is The Folding Knife. The Folding Knife, we're following our main character in his kind of rise and fall. And it's just a really great character study as well. It's kind of set against this Renaissance-like backdrop. And we have all of these different mercantile banks warring against each other. We have the kind of potential onset of war looming. And there's a lot of instability in the world. And what we're really doing is following this main character as he tries to navigate all of that. There's lots of ups and downs. What we're really waiting for is the inevitable moment where we see our main character's decline start. And it's not very obvious necessarily, but our main character is also incredibly witty. He's incredibly likable. And yes, he's very morally grey as well, because some of the decisions he makes are not particularly kind to the people around him. But he's just a really, really compelling character. He's one of my favourite characters of all time. He's incredibly intelligent, but he's also incredibly flawed and also quite arrogant. He's just such a great character. He's very likeable in my opinion. Even though he does some pretty messed up things, I do find him to be very, very likeable. Not necessarily in the charming, charismatic way. I just find the way his brain works to be fascinating, and that's probably why I like him, to be honest. Such a great book. Such a great book. If you like politics, if you like kind of Renaissance era historical fiction, if you like stuff around merchants and banking systems, you will get a lot of that in this book. There's also lots of twists and turns in this book that just kind of throw you through a loop, to be honest. So good. The next one I'm gonna recommend is if you like books that follow the exploits of a fun character. I call it the exploits of a genius character. And the books that I will recommend for this one are a collection of 3 short books, and they form like a trilogy, and that is the Salan ninus books. Oh, these books are so good. I really like Salan ninus's character because he reminds me of one of my favourite historical figures of all time, and that's Leonardo da Vinci. I've mentioned this a few times on my channels. Leonardo da Vinci is just somebody that I really respect, and I've read quite a lot about him. I have his notebooks as well, and he's just a really interesting person in my opinion. And Salan ninus reminds me of him. He's very much polymath. He's good at many, many different things. He's very intelligent in many ways, but in other ways, like socially, he's not that intelligent, and chaos just ensues around him. He's just absolutely chaotic in many ways, and it's just fun to be a part of the adventure. It's fun to be in his head. It's fun to be on this ride because it's just honestly quite crazy, but it's highly, highly enjoyable. The books are very short. I do think this would also be quite a good place to start if you were new to KJ Parker, because like I said, the books are very short. They're very fun to read. You'll find yourself laughing out loud. The character doesn't take himself too seriously, which is kind of what you want with this kind of character. It's just an absolute delight. Absolute delight. Strongly recommend it. Strongly recommend it. The next one I'm going to recommend is a book if you like kind of books that have essentially like family dramas at the centre of it, that are quite dark in tone and that will kind of make you feel a bit off. Like, you know, if you like that feeling of just like having to sit with something that makes you feel a bit uncomfortable. The Hammer is, oh man, there were 2 scenes in that book that genuinely made me put the book down. There's one particular scene where that happened, where I had to put the book down, go for a walk around my flat. Like, I remember it so well. I went for a walk around my flat. I was just thinking about how this could have happened. And it makes sense how that specific thing happened. But it's the fact, you asked your question of like, how did we end up here? Like, how did this get to this point that it led to this outcome? It's just so good. It is very dark. It's not a light read. It's not something that I would recommend to a lot of people. But I think if you're one of those people that likes quite dark, gritty kind of family dramas, and then there's a lot of other stuff happening around it, then I strongly recommend The Hammer. Our main character is also quite likable, but he also does make certain decisions that make you look at him through a different light. And again, I like that sort of character type. So good. So good. It's so good. I know I'm saying that after every single book, but like I truly mean it. I truly do mean it. And again, I do have a review of this one as well, so I will post a link for that one. I go into a lot more detail, but it's just really incredible. It's so good. I know I'm saying that after every single book, but like I truly mean it. I truly do mean it. And again, I do have a review of this one as well, so I will post a link for that one. I go into a lot more detail, but it's just really incredible. I know I'm saying that after every single book, but like I truly mean it. I truly do mean it. And then now the last category that I've got is if you like kind of supernatural kind of vibes, like if you like things around like demons and things like that, then I recommend the Prosper's Demon duology. And there's 2 books, they're very short. You can also read through them very quickly. This is not a duology that I would recommend to read at the start of your KJ Parker reading journey. I would recommend reading this, you know, after you've read a few of his books. It's very kind of meta, got some very interesting thematic work that isn't necessarily discussed outrightly in the books, but it's kind of alluded to, and it's something that, you know, if you want to sit on it, you can, and kind of think about what is kind of happening on a broader scale here. Our character Prosper that we follow is a really interesting character because he's a demon. He's not quite right, you know, if you know what I mean. And he's quite witty, he's quite cutting. Again, he plays the character type that KJ Parker does extremely well. And that's like the intelligent, witty, very morally grey, sometimes straight up evil character type. And that's one of my favourite character types. And Prosper very much fits into that archetype very well. And of all the books that I've read of Parker's, I would say this one, just go into it with zero expectation. Just go into it expecting weird, wacky things. Just go into it expecting that you won't really know what's happening sometimes. And that's all right. Like, it's just very strange, but like in the best way possible. Sometimes I just didn't even know what was happening, and that's also okay. Again, just kind of accept it and go along with the ride with the characters. And I think you'll really enjoy it. Like, it's just a really great palette cleanser as well. Like, if you're reading some pretty heavy stuff and you want something that's a bit different and that will kind of make you laugh as well, then I think this is the one that you should pick up. So there we have it. That's my first KJ Parker reading guide. I will definitely do a renewed version of this video maybe in a year or two's time once I've read some more myself. Let me know down below if you have any questions. If there's any KJ Parker books that you would recommend to folks who are maybe early on in their Parker reading journey, feel free to comment down below. I'll see you in my next video. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Every little helps, and I'll see you in my next one. Thanks for watching. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.